Hey everyone, it's Vinny, and with the Breeders' Cup just a week away, pre-entries came out yesterday for the Breeders' Cup races. The racing dudes posted about them. You can find it on their website. If you haven't already taken a look at the pre-entries, go take a look. Like any Breeders' Cup, there are a number of European and Japanese horses that a lot of people are unfamiliar with, and one of these races that has a good handful of these horses is the Breeders' Cup Mile, 1 mile on the turf. This year's field looks pretty competitive. Just going to run through it quick, mainly focusing on the foreign horses. 18 horses are pre-entered, 4 of them being also eligibles. With that, 2 of the horses in the main body of the field have this race as their second preference. Those 2 horses are very unlikely to run in the spot as they drew into the main body of their preferred race. Those 2 horses are In Italian for Chad Brown, whose main preference is the filly and mare turf, and Up to the Mark for Todd Pletcher, whose first preference is the turf. There are 4 European horses and 2 Japanese horses that are pre-entered here. We're going to look at those runners quick before circling back to the U.S. runners. The first 2 horses I want to talk about actually did run at Keeneland earlier this month. Both Godolphin horses. Amaj, who won the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup back on October 14th, won it very easily, looked good doing it. She is now 4 for 4 in 2023. I think she's actually going to be a little bit of a price here based on who else is pre-entered here. We'll see race day. She's one that I would definitely use at a price, but if for some reason she is for some reason she is like 4-1, I think she is one that she is beatable, even though she looked good winning easily last time out. The other Euro that ran at Keeneland is Master of the Seas for Charlie Appleby, who finished second in the Coolmore Mile last time out to Up to the Mark. It took Up to the Mark to beat him. Up to the Mark is just a very good horse, and I think a major contender, and no matter what spot he runs in. But I don't think just because Master of the Seas lost last time out, you can disregard him for this spot. I think he looks very tough here. I think he's a major contender. Based on the pre-entries, I think he would probably be around 6-1 if everybody enters. And I think that's more than a fair price on Master of the Seas. The Frankel filly Kalina is also pre-entered here. And she won a grade 1 last time out, beating Olders in France. I think this would be a big class jump for her, though. That field, even though it was grade 1, was nothing super impressive, in my opinion. She's also not super consistent. She's just 2 for 6 in graded stakes company, and most of her losses are she finishes well beaten. So it's not like she's just consistently running like first, second, third. But she should be a good price if you like her. I'll need to wait for the field to be drawn to really make my determination on this filly. But if everybody from the pre-entry list does run, I think she's on the outside looking in on my tickets personally. The last European horse, though, that is pre-entered here, I was surprised to see this horse's name as he just ran on October 21st at Ascot, and that is Paddington for Aidan O'Brien. And if Paddington comes over, he is a major player and would likely either be the favorite or the second choice, in my opinion. The fact that he's pre-entered here makes me think that race at Ascot, even though he ran his worst career race, it didn't take anything out of him because I don't think he was ever asked because he don't think he liked the ground. You watch that race, he never looked comfortable that entire race. It showed. He finished 9th that day. If you want to see more about Paddington and how good he actually can be, the Juddmonte International Stakes and the Qatar Sussex Stakes from earlier this year, he runs very good in both of those spots. He did finish 3rd in the Juddmonte International, but that race, the top 3 finishers ran massive races there. That's a race that I would definitely recommend watching the replay for, preparing for the Breeders' Cup. That was one of my favorite races this year. And the winner of that race actually is probably going to end up being my choice in the BC Turf. Just a little spoiler alert there. But with him being pre-entered, he has to be considered if he runs here. I think he would love the firm going at Santa Anita. I'm very curious if who would ride Paddington. I think this would be I think probably would be Ryan Moore if he comes over, but I do think this was kind of a last second pre-entry decision. But the fact that they do pre-enter him, I think they're serious about bringing him. It's a quick turnaround, but I would not be concerned about it for Paddington. There are two Japanese horses entered here, and one of them stands out. The other, I think, is a toss. The toss, I think, is Win Carlinan. He should be a massive price. I just don't think he's good enough. You'll have to look at how the race draws on paper to see if the dynamics would shape up for this one. He's just wildly inconsistent and hard to trust. He should be a big price, though, if you just want to play the Japanese horses here, which I'm sure will be a popular bet. He should be 20-1 based on the pre-entries, if not higher. I'm not going to spend too much time on him. I don't think he's that good. The Japanese horse, however, I do think is a major contender, likely be the morning line and post time favorite, is the 5-year-old mare Songline. And she's just good. She finished second off the layoff last time out, going 1 mile and an eighth in her last race. It was off a 4-month layoff. I'm not too concerned with that. She ran a very good second that day. She's won her last 3 grade 1s going 1 mile, and 2 of them were back in May and June of this year. But boy, did she look good in those mile races. She's just impressive. She's probably, if not the best turf miler in the world currently. She's a major contender. She's going to be overbet, not a doubt about it, but one that you can try to beat her. I don't know if these others are really, like, maybe Paddington is, but I think the others would have to hope that she just flat doesn't show up. She is, if you watch her, she just means business every time she runs, and she's one that's definitely going to be on my tickets. Now looking at the U.S. horses, I honestly think the best U.S. horse in here and the U.S. shot to win this race is Casa Creed for Bill Mott. He should be a price. I think Casa Creed will probably be double digits, like 10, 12-1. I think he's worth a play, especially if you are trying to beat some of those higher price Euros. Looking at De Jour and Exalted, the 2 California-based horses that drew into the main body of the field, I think they're both overmatched. Chad Brown as Gina Romantica entered in here, and she's very interesting because I think she's going to be a very big price in here. And if she gets a pace in front of her like the First Lady, she closes. She's a very good closer. If she's 20-30-1 like she should be, yeah, I think she might be worth a little bit of a play, especially underneath. I think she is one that could definitely close into a pace, pick up some pieces, and blow up the try and super. Another horse like that, who's kind of more like Casa Creed, is Cheryl Spite. Was second in this race at a huge price last year, and he's always consistent. He's just like Casa Creed, in my opinion. I prefer Casa Creed, but another one that I don't think anybody would be surprised if he runs second or third again in this year's BC Mile. As for the AEs, I'm a big fan of Sherry DeVoe. If you've been following me for the last couple of years, a big fan of her turf horses, but I think more than looks will need a lot of help here to win. Not for me. I already touched on Master of Foxhounds. I don't think he has much of a shot if he does get in here. Astronomer, another California-based horse. I don't like the other 2. Not a huge fan of this one. I think this one will need a lot of help on a big class jump. The only AE I would really consider here is Lucky Score from Mark Cassie, who is 15 for 19 in the money and was third back in September in the Woodbine Mile behind Master of the Seas and Cheryl Spite. Maybe kind of like Gina Romantica, big price that can hit the board. So that's it for the pre-entries for the Breeders' Cup Mile. I will be back next week with some best bets for Breeders' Cup weekend. So thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time.
RacingDudes.com is your home for the best free picks for every race, every track. It's Breeders' Cup season and we've got wall-to-wall coverage of the World Championships. Subscribe to YouTube.com/RacingDudes right now. Click the notification bell. You never want to miss a single video. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.